Start again.
Yeah, hi. My name is Jazz Darhill, Operations Director of Baikal Technologies Limited. With me is Mr. Raj Sandhu, the CEO of Baikal Technologies. Welcome, Raj. How are you?
All good, all good.
Fantastic. Okay, let's just begin with the broad question. What is tech transfer or technology transfer to you? What would you define it as?
Yeah, so technology transfer, from the way that obviously we've learned it in the UK, the universities, is taking university research that has been peer reviewed and commercializing it, making it into a proper product. So typically you'd say it's a TRL level 4, so that's technology readiness level 4, and you're taking it to 6 or 7 where it becomes a commercially viable product.
Right, fantastic. And how do you find that how tech transfer is a benefit for the end user?
So yeah, that's it. So obviously the research that happens within again, I'm using the UK example, right? So UK is 1% of the world's population, but it produces 16% of the world's research. So obviously we're doing something right on the research side. So for the end user, they get to see, or they get access to global recognized talent within the UK university ecosystem, and a challenge can be, a challenge statement or a business problem can be researched thoroughly, and then there can be obviously for use of a better term, a sort of MVP or a pre-approved concept can be laid out in the research.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So what for the end user, there's a concept there that is beyond an idea. It's something that a university has basically looked into and said, yes, there's a solution to this.
No, that's obviously leading on to my third question. Within the UAE, I mean, how do you plan to use this technology transfer? Well, we've now got the situation where we've got an end user. How would you use it within the UAE scenario? Obviously, the challenges in UAE are a lot more different to the challenges that we have in the UK. Obviously, there is some sort of similarities with basic problems, but how would you use this tech transfer within the UAE?
Yeah, no. So you're right. There is a difference, but there's an underlying similarity, I think. So some of the challenges that we've looked into are things like stolen car convoys, stolen cars by organised criminals in the UK. Obviously, the crime theft in the UAE is not as high. If it's not probably even organised, it's probably more opportunistic. So challenges have similar behaviour patterns, but the localization is important. So what we have looked into, what we are looking to do, is take that technology from the UK universities, treat it almost as an idea, and say, well, look, the idea has been researched in the UK, bring it here, and then localize it. But you can only localize it if the challenge statement exists in some form that is similar. So we have researched and found some similarities in terms of some of the technologies we've done. And over the next weeks and months on follow-up sessions, we can actually detail how we put those together. So on the challenge statement, the end user needs to understand that everyone has challenges. Nothing's ever perfect.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think the UK universities, because of their history on research, they are ahead of the curve in those aspects compared to the UAE. But I think by that collaboration, I think there's something possible that we can do.
Fantastic. Thanks.
All right. What's the other one then? So,
domain expert. What is it's just two?
Yeah.
Okay. So this leads on to that. So I don't need to talk about. Can you edit it from the last?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Yes. Going back to your actual statement, we spoke about tech transfer and the importance of tech transfer. One of the aspects that I'm really intrigued about is you often talk about domain expertise. Okay. Can you define, or to some level, what you mean by domain expertise? I mean, a lot of people will look at domain expertise and think, yes, in a particular field. But how do you put this together with tech transfer?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think domain expertise in general is quite obvious, right? Someone who's had, someone could probably say 10 years experience, but it's probably 20 years experience. If someone's had 20 years experience in a particular field, it makes them a domain expert by any call, right? But the type of domain expertise that we need is somebody who will be able to work with data scientists and the feature engineers. So I think we probably maybe need to change the title of domain expert. For one of the projects we're working on, we have a 33 years experienced senior police officer who not only obviously has that understanding of different departments within the police, how it all functions, but he's also looked into what AI can do. Now he's not learning how to program, but he knows what AI can do, and he can understand a research paper. Okay, so that is a unique level of domain expertise. But on top of that, we are also getting him involved in feature engineering. So what that means is, when you talk to when he talks to his peers who are currently in the police, he's not just telling them, "Oh, this is what it can do." He's almost guiding them to say, "Well, actually, to implement this into your system or implement this into your process, it's an iteration." Right. It happens gradually over time. You're not having to lift and shift old systems. That coming from a domain expert is invaluable to what we're doing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, completely agree. But my other question to yourself is, were there any challenges having a domain expert understanding data science? I mean, is it a case of, yes, we've got this domain expert in a particular field, and then you've got this scientific background of computers and AI. Is there no fear factor in between? How do you progress them two together?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a good question. On the type of domain expert, you can't write off anyone, right? So what tends to happen with our search of domain experts, you've got to find somebody, like I say, who's probably is motivated not by money or by any sort of remuneration. They're motivated to fix problems that they had when they were working. I think that's been the underlying. Everything else from a technical and scientific bit, they'll try and wrap their head around. But the most important thing is you've got to have someone, for use of a better term, passion. I don't really like the word, but they've got to have a will, not even a desire, a will to be able to go back to their peers and say, look, you know what, I experienced this as well.
So in effect, inefficiencies in their own processes and their own time spent working.
Yeah. So the inefficiency is one thing, but it's more to do with almost the talking to a current counter insurance fraud specialist, the domain expert. He hates the fact that he was going into work every day and the criminals were winning every day.
Right.
It's almost, I wouldn't even say revenge. I don't want to use he wants to take revenge on them, but he had that. He's got that in him that every day he was losing. Every day they were writing checks to organized criminals, and there was nothing being done about it.
Right.
So that's the unique aspect of some of the domain experts. You've got to have that element within that, and that helps a data scientist.
Okay.
Once a data scientist sees that, then there's a big difference.
Okay, fantastic.